It's Friday, September 13. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. A comprehensive national drainage plan has been created to improve the drainage system to put an end to the flooding in the corporate area and several flood-prone towns. Speaking in Parliament Tuesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness stated that last year the National Works Agency completed the Master Drainage Plan, which gives a comprehensive overview of gaps in the drainage system nationally.
The drains that were built, some of these drains 50 years ago, cannot carry the volume of water that is now coming down on these roads. And therefore, when the roads overflow, and the drains are undersized, the water stays on the road for longer than it should, and therefore properties on the sides will get flooded. We have now issued, have done the request for proposals for a drainage design for Kingston and St. Andrew. Hopefully they will go to contracting within a month, and the period of design will be about 6 months. So hopefully we'll have that ready in terms of the major drains that will need to be reconstructed or new drains to be put in for Kingston and St. Andrew.
The areas set to benefit from this new drainage plan would be primarily the Tinson Pen, Maxfield Avenue areas, St. Andrew West Central and St. Andrew East Central constituencies, which are major intersection points for the existing system and normally get flooded when it rains heavily. The Prime Minister told Parliament that the execution of the drainage plan is estimated to cost between 100 and 150 million US dollars.
Andrew, which are the areas that normally get flooded. In fact, that is where my constituency, because that is where the sandy gully comes and deposits. Your constituency, you get the solid waste, not so much of the flooding. Yes, not so much of the flooding. And I'm going to address the solid waste issue separately. You're looking at between 100 to 150 million US dollars worth of work in this area to correct it. And that is, as I've said, not a small undertaking.
Last year in his budget presentation, Prime Minister Holness noted that the Greater Infrastructure Development Program, which will replace the Major Infrastructural Development Program, to focus on roads, gullies and drains as part of the infrastructure development.
The other areas that we are looking at now to have specific plans which will fit into the National Drainage Plan would be Maypen, Santa Cruz and Port Maria. Those are areas that are flood regularly. So just to assure members that the government is working towards this.
Prime Minister Holness urged members of Parliament to use the allocation given to them for their constituencies to clear entrances to the inlets of the drains and gullies for the water to run off. Minister of Local Government Desmond McKenzie says the authorities are prepared to use the provisions under the Disaster Risk Law to enforce mandatory evacuations in instances where Jamaicans are refusing to leave vulnerable communities in the face of disaster. He says in Jamaica, 98% of our capital towns are landlocked. There are only 3 parishes in Jamaica where the capital does not sit beside the sea. The minister will be meeting with the National Disaster Committee on Monday to review set plans on national disaster responses. Minister McKenzie wants all municipalities to activate their disaster response mechanisms to ensure we have all the necessary things to put in place. He is urging on mayors to pay special attention to people who are vulnerable, especially the physically challenged. He says the government will provide funding for all municipalities for public education programs. Mr. McKenzie was addressing yesterday's monthly meeting of the Trelawney Municipal Corporation. A national fruit tree planting program, a national drip irrigation system, a crop insurance policy for small farmers, and a national homegrown school feeding program will be getting funding from agencies of the United Nations. Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries Audley Shaw said the development comes out of discussions with representatives of the Food and Agriculture Organization and the International Fund for Agricultural Development, the IFAD. Minister Shaw said that the FAO has developed a concept paper to assist Jamaica in the areas identified. Mr. Shaw said the ministry is also looking to collaborate with other international agencies for the full implementation of the projects. Lawmakers have backed away from the long prison sentence that was recommended in the long-anticipated data protection law for persons who fail to register as data processors. Section 18, subsection 3C of the proposed data protection bill made failing to register as a data processor an offense punishable by a fine and a prison sentence not exceeding 5 years for persons convicted in the circuit court. For persons convicted in the parish court, the punishment was a maximum prison sentence of 2 years and a $2 million fine. This week, lawmakers on the Joint Select Committee of Parliament examining the bill agreed to scrap Section 18, subsection 3C, thereby eliminating the 5-year sentence. Among those in attendance was Dr. Andrew Wheatley, who chaired the committee until he resigned as Energy Minister last August amid corruption allegations at several entities under his portfolio. After apologizing for his absence from previous meetings, Dr. Wheatley disclosed that proposed legislation was crafted so that the fines would help to ensure compliance.
If it is that the fees may be outside the fines may be outside that of the court to which the bills speak, then we have to ensure that it falls within the regime that is afforded at that level, at that court. So the fines, I beg members to not look at it from just a mere cost or to the data controller, but more to look at to ensure that they adhere to the regulations, they adhere to what the Act stipulates. You know, oftentimes we create laws, and within 3 to 5 years, the fees or the penalties appears to be nothing more than just a token.
For opposition member of the committee, Mark Golding, it amounts to, quote, overkill, end quote, to have data processors who fail to register placed before the circuit court.
I don't see in that instance why there should be prosecution in the circuit court, for example, for this offense. I don't understand that. That seems to me overkill, because I would imagine that if some abuse of personal data has taken place, that's a different matter and would be charged under a different section of the Act that is dealing with misuse of data or breaching the standards. But just purely failure to comply with the administrative requirement of registration, you know, to my mind, 2 years imprisonment seems excessive, and I don't see why this matter would have to go into the circuit court.
Cruise shipping arrivals are down by 15% and earnings have dipped 12.1%. However, Director of Tourism Donovan White says that while Jamaica has been having a less than stellar year in cruise shipping so far, stopover arrivals have been making up for the shortfall. According to him, Jamaica will be welcoming the Royal Caribbean flagship vessel and the world's largest cruise line, Symphony of the Seas, and its more than 8,000 passengers and crew members come May 2020. He was addressing stakeholders and journalists at the Jamaica Product Exchange media briefing at the Half Moon Hotel this week. White said that the fall-off in cruise shipping was due in part to itinerary changes by the major cruise lines. This, he says, should change in a hurry in 2020. State Minister in the Ministry of Education and Information, Alanda Terrelong, is urging Jamaicans to support the Parent Support Contribution, which has replaced the term auxiliary fees. No more than $5,000 is allowed to be charged for registration packages for new students for this academic year. However, there have been complaints that some schools have not yet been compliant. According to the State Minister, a bulletin was distributed by the Acting Chief Education Officer, Winnie Berry, to all schools, outlining the ministry's position on fees, disbursements, and additional resources. Minister Terry Long says parents should be allowed to contribute what they can.
Some parents can afford to make a contribution, a substantial contribution. There are other parents who will have a difficulty. What we're saying is no child should be denied the right of an education because the parent is not able to pay the amount of contribution fee that the school is demanding. What we have done as a ministry, as a government, is we have increased the allocation to every single school, to all our public schools, and so no child should be denied the right to an education.
Even with the cap set at $5,000, Minister Terry Long says it's been reported that some schools have tallied contributions needed at $51,000.
Some parents can afford the $51,000, but what about that parent who can only afford, or those parents who can only afford $20,000 or $25,000? And what we're saying to the schools is that no child should be turned away. And what we're saying to those parents is that if you find that you can only pay, let's say, $10,000 or $15,000, and the school is saying, well, no, the contribution is $39,000 or $40,000 and everything else and stuff, come and speak to us at the ministry, speak to the school, let us get a report so that we can find alternative arrangements as ways of funding for those children.
The minister was speaking at the recent graduation ceremony for the Supreme Ventures Foundation's Junior Creators Robotics Camp. Students from 5 schools across the corporate area spent a week learning how to make robots. Mr. Terry Long congratulated the graduates, some of whom were from his constituency, and lauded the 2 entities responsible for the camp.
It's an amazing idea, and I want to say a big thank you to Supreme Ventures for this initiative. It's the 4th staging, and also a big thank you to Marvin Hall and his...
We also spoke to Kajay Rowe, Digital and Social Media Manager at Supreme Ventures.
So what we wanted to do was give the children who we reached out to a first-hand experience at robotics, engineering, technology. So what they get to do is they get to build actual robots from scratch. They get to incorporate physics, they get to incorporate math, everything that they're learning in school really, but on a more fun role.
The instructors were provided by Halls of Learning, an educational services company that introduces robots to youngsters through robotics and coding workshops, after-school programs and clubs created to complement STEM skills, namely science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This week in Culinary Trails, let's see where our taste buds take us. This week on Culinary Trails, we're in Orchid Village for a taste of Indian cuisine, perfectly prepared meals, a timeless experience at Tamarind Indian Cuisine. So my dinner partner this evening is Miss Tian Dowlett. Are you excited about your meal?
Yes, I am ready for some Indian food. Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
How are you? Welcome
I'm
to
okay.
Tamarind.
Thank you. So
This is our European fusion menu. From this you get a little like pastas, pizza, salads, soups, and all of that. And then here we have the Indian, which you get all the curries from. Okay. The nice curries, the masala and all those lovely stuff, samosas and all of that. And then from this one, which is the Asian fusion, you get like a little Chinese, Singaporean Thai. This is where the famous Singapore dish comes from, which everybody loves.
okay. What are you feeling like today?
Can you recommend something in fish?
Yeah, something. Okay, let me look. So they have shrimp, they have grilled chicken cooked in white wine sauce. This is piri piri. This is nice. They have
Grilled chicken cooked in spicy sauce with honey. I'm liking their appetizers. From mushroom to broccoli and chicken soup, to asparagus soup. They have Caesar salad for those of us who are on a diet like Tian. Yes, we are. So for our appetizer, we're going to get a samosa and a small butter chicken. Then for entree, I'm going to get the methi malai chicken, and tea is going to be having the fish Singapore. And we also want a little bit of garlic naan and a bit of butter naan. All right.
I'm
What
sure
do you?
you're gonna enjoy your meal.
Of course, of course. What do you want to drink? Tea?
What about some fruit punch?
Ooh, I'd have some. I'd have some orange juice.
Orange juice?
Let's talk about that yummy butter chicken pizza. It's made with an authentic Indian sauce of tomato cream base and cheese, as well as chicken. The chicken is seasoned with spices like curry, a bit of pepper, before being speared and jerked in a clay oven. The dough is rolled, and the sauce, cheese, and chicken added before being placed in an oven.
Here's your butter chicken pizza.
Ooh, nice.
It's delicious.
Delicious. Is it popular here at the restaurant?
Very popular. Everybody loves this.
All right.
And then this is your samosas.
Okay.
And here we have the tamarind sauce.
Tamarind
and
sauce.
Mango chutney.
Mango chutney. So the samosa, what's in the samosa?
It's actually potatoes and green peas inside.
Potatoes and green peas. So it's kind of healthy then.
Very nice.
Okay.
It's very popular. These are two of the most popular dishes here.
Okay.
Appetizers.
All right.
You have the piece of a main course, depends on how you feel.
All right.
All right, so I'll just let you go ahead and enjoy.
All right. Thank you.
So I think I want to venture for the bathroom because I always want to see the difference in the restaurant.
All right. Go ahead. I'll be right here. Hi.
I'm Pooja.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. I'm glad I'm seeing someone of Indian descent. I have a lot of questions. Have a seat. Have a seat.
How was your appetizers?
Oh, they were great. We had a samosa and butter chicken. It was really good. I noticed that the butter chicken had a curry sauce, so I wanted to find out more about that aspect of the restaurant. Do you have various different types of curries in your dishes?
Yes. So India has about 29 states, and each state has its own signature curry dish and its own signature cuisine. So it's not just one curry dish. We have several curry dishes.
Wow, so you use all of them here in the various dishes?
Yes, we try and incorporate all. Tamarind is just a taste of India. It's not everything, but it's just a taste of India.
But it's authentic?
Yes, absolutely authentic.
So which year did you start your restaurant business in Jamaica?
We started in 2009.
Oh, so you're 10 years down the line?
Yes.
What have you learned as a restaurateur? I know other restaurateurs are going to be watching this series. What have you learned as a restaurateur?
I think it's very important to give your customers value for their money and good tasting food, of course. Well, we have three. We have Tamarind Indian, and next door is Tamarind Continental, and then we have Saffron in Marketplace.
Well, it's really, really pretty here. Thank you so much for coming over to speak with me.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to have you.
Actually, the appetizer was just wow. I can't wait for the entree. Ooh, yes. Oh, hi. So it seems as if you're enjoying yourself, man.
Yes, of course. The taste was extremely delicious.
Really? So you're a curry kind of guy, you like curry?
Definitely. The ambience was tops, you know.
What about the customer service? Good customer service?
Customer service was great. Love it.
The US dollar on Thursday, September 12, ended trading at Jamaican $137.77, down by 10 cents. And that's according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily foreign exchange trading summary. Meanwhile, the Canadian dollar ended trading at 104 Jamaican dollars 81 cents, down from $105.10. While the British pound sterling ended trading at Jamaican $170.98, up from $170.11. In regional news, the government of the Bahamas has issued a tropical storm warning for several of its northwestern islands, which are still reeling from Hurricane Dorian. The United States National Hurricane Center says a tropical cyclone is expected to form in the coming hours near the northwestern Bahamas. The system is emerging about 235 miles southeast of Great Tobacco Island. The disturbance has a maximum sustained winds of 30 miles per hour and is moving to the northwest at 8 miles per hour. Forecasters say the system should become a tropical storm within the next day or so. Meanwhile, some 1,300 people are still unaccounted for in the Bahamas following Hurricane Dorian. The Bahamian National Emergency Management Agency attributed the drop to cross-referencing names from missing persons with those in shelters. The Bahamian authorities have put the death toll from the devastating Category 5 storm at 50 so far, but they have said they expect that number to rise significantly. In sports, Jamaica Tallawahs suffered a third consecutive defeat in their 2019 Hero Caribbean Premier League 2020 campaign, going down by 5 wickets to St. Lucia Zouks in the first of 5 home games at Sabina Park on Thursday. By virtue of the result, Tallawahs remain the only team in the tournament without a win or a point, and as such is rooted at the foot of the 6-team standing. In other sporting news, the ongoing payment situation between Jamaica's senior national women's team and the Jamaica Football Federation, JFF, has escalated to higher levels. Head coach Hugh Menzies has threatened to resign from his post along with members of the technical staff if they are not paid what they are owed. The JFF reportedly responded to a letter this week indicating that it is prepared to proceed without Menzies and the staff if there is no improvement in the situation come the deadline, which they had set for September 25. Jamaica is expected to compete in the Olympic qualifiers, which run from September 30 to October 8. But with the position of the players who have also threatened to stand down and now the coaching staff, the team's participation is in serious jeopardy. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thanks so much for watching.